Hey guys, welcome back to China Cycling. Today I thought I'd show you my new shoes. I've been wanting to change my shoes for a while, but couldn't really find anything I liked or anything that was really doing it for me. So I spent some time Googling and YouTubing, and I eventually came across the custom shoe scene. And my interest was piqued, and I thought I'd give it a try. So I spent some time just searching for inspiration, not only shoes, but anything cool patterns or cool designs. I made a folder on my computer, and basically for a couple of weeks, any photos of cool shoes I liked or patterns, I just saved them into this folder, and it was kind of like my mood wall. Every so often, I just jump online, find some images, throw them in there, and then every so often scroll through, delete any of the things that I think look good at the time, but after a while, it doesn't really look good. And so there was a bunch of stuff I was inspired by. I saw these sweet comic book road shoes, some nicely painted specialized S-Works 6 shoes, I think they are. I saw a lot of pop art shoes, and I loved it. Like I think easy-ish to paint, nice colors, like a good head turning thing. So I liked all the pop art stuff. I toyed around with doing some superhero stuff, but realized I'm not 6 years old anymore. Then I saw Bradley Wiggins, his custom Giro shoes he had painted for him, which I think are pop art and Liechtenstein inspired. I thought they were really cool, so that got me going on the Liechtenstein theme. I'm pronouncing that totally wrong, my bad. These cool Adidas shoes, they were all pretty pop arty and cool, comic book looking. They were pretty rad. I was enjoying that. This guy's sock game was awesome. I love his sock and shoe combo. That's working really well. Again, comic book mixed with superhero kind of thing going on, not bad. And yeah, again, some more like pop art Liechtenstein stuff on these Converse All Stars. And yeah, just all of these comic book explosions I thought were looking really cool. So anyway, I had my inspiration all set. I had pretty much a good idea what I wanted to do, and it seemed the best shoes to start out with would be some all white cities or some physiques or maybe some white specialized. But this is China Cycling, so we've got to do it on a budget. And so after a long time of searching through Chinese cycling shoes on Taobao, which is the Chinese eBay basically, I found a design that was fairly clean of like stitching and buckles and stuff. Like I think if you're painting custom shoes, you want it to be as free of stitching and buckles and vents as you can. You want a bigger canvas to work on. So I found these shoes that were free of all that stuff. They came in mostly white. A company I've never heard of called Diatzi or Diatzi maybe. Never heard of them. I googled about them online, can't find anything about them. In the shoes, they say they're made in Taiwan. Online, there were two versions, one with a plastic sole, one with a carbon sole. The plastic sole says the plastic is imported from South America. I don't know what kind of plastic is special about South America, but hey ho. And yeah, like on the whole of Taobao, which is like eBay times 10, it's huge. There are only one or two sellers selling these shoes. And as I said, two versions, plastic ones and carbon ones. The plastic ones were 420 grams and 420 RMB, which comes to $63 or 47 pounds. So not super cheap, but not expensive. And the carbon soled ones were 40 grams lighter. They come in at 380 grams and 780 RMB, which is about $120. And yeah, I wasn't sure how good the quality would be and stuff, and I wasn't sure the carbon ones would be worth almost double the price. So I went for the regular plastic ones. And both ones, the plastic and the carbon ones, they were available in sizes 39 up to 43. I like my road bike shoes to be super tight. I usually wear a 38 in road bike shoes, but the smallest size was a 39. But I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. And so I got the 39s, and yeah, they were a good fit. So when the shoes arrived, I threw them on, tried them on. They seemed pretty good. The plastic sole seemed stiff. Tried to bend it a bit, tried to whack it a bit, and didn't seem to budge much. The boa style dial seemed cool, like they're asymmetric on the left and the right. So no matter which way you're doing it, tightening is kind of like rotating the same way, like your hands doing the same motion on each side, which is different to my old shoes, which I liked. They're the kind of ones where you spin the dial to get it tighter, and then you lift up a little flap to let go of the tension, and that all works good and stuff. The shoes are pretty tall on the inside. I think that's also a disadvantage of the single boa dial system I have. There's only one boa dial and no Velcro or anything else. Just one boa dial is pulling the whole shoe together. And I think that single boa dial system makes it harder to adjust the height of the shoe and the tightness around the ankle individually. Like the whole shoe has to like clamp down at the same ratio. And on my feet, they get tight around the ankles before they're really getting tight around the upper of my foot. The bridge of your foot, is that what it's called? I don't do feet. Well, I've got feet. Anyway, moving on. They're not awful, but yeah, I have very short feet in terms of height. I don't have tall feet. And I feel like if I'm really pulling up on the upstroke of the pedal, my foot might be bouncing around in the shoe a bit. I think I can fix this. We put some thicker insoles in there, maybe 2 pairs of insoles. I've not tried anything with that yet, but I could wear them. I know I could wear them, so that was that. And so then I was watching a few tutorials about painting shoes. Like everyone on YouTube seems to use these Angelus paints. I don't know if they go around sponsoring everyone's YouTube videos or if they're just the best out there. They didn't sponsor my video, so Angelus, if you're listening, hey. But yeah, everyone on YouTube was using them, so I figured, hey, yeah, I'll use them too, why not? And the paints were actually imported to China from the States. I paid 400 renminbi for all the paints, like $60-ish, maybe $70. But that was for paints, finishes, and hardeners and softeners. Like I brought way too much stuff. But now I have a whole bunch. I have a kit now, so I guess I'm gonna have to paint some more shoes. And so in every tutorial, people recommend prepping the shoes, and they recommend using acetone. It turns out acetone is actually a controlled substance in China. Apparently something to do with meth production? No idea. But yeah, you can't buy it over the counter. You can't buy it from DIY stores. Like it's really hard to find acetone in China. And my bottle actually says on it in Chinese, like, for school chemistry class experiments only. So I'll let you guess where I got mine from. But anyway, I got hold of the acetone and used it to remove most of the original paint, and also got rid of the glossiness of the original finish. So when you're prepping the shoe, you're just trying to make it so when you do paint the shoe, there's going to be a good bond between the paint and the shoe, so it doesn't flake off, doesn't crack off or anything. And at one part of the shoe, I actually rubbed a bit too hard with the acetone. I was using acetone and a sponge, and I rubbed way too hard and actually took off the synthetic texture layer of the shoe upper. And so yeah, went straight through that, and I was like, oh, I just messed up bad. And yeah, I stopped what I was doing, had a quick look, and I have no idea what's left underneath that layer, and it was looking a bit thin, so I just avoided rubbing down any further in that area. And on the rest of the shoe, I just basically made a mental note, like, don't go through the textured layer. So that's definitely something you have to watch out for. Don't rub too much with the acetone, like it's strong stuff, it will go through the shoe. With the shoe prepped to the best of my ability, I started painting it with the Angelus white paint. And so the trick is, like, take your time, use many thin layers, don't just throw on one thick layer. If you go too thick with one layer, I think it'll end up cracking off later. So do a thin layer and let it dry. They recommend using a hot air gun to dry the paint between layers. I don't have a hot air gun in China, so I used a hairdryer and some extra patience. And so you do a layer on one shoe and then let it naturally dry for a bit and do the other shoe. And then when your other shoe's done, go back and take the hairdryer back on the original shoe and give it another layer. And it took me about 3 or 4 layers of doing this to get a decent, even white finish to the shoe. I'd say that took about 2 hours of just slowly building up layers and letting them dry properly between layers. My next step was mocking up my design in Photoshop. So I had a mental idea of what I wanted, and I wanted to get it down to visualize it a bit clearer. And if I wasn't so lazy, I would have taken photos of my actual, like, now white painted shoes and photoshopped over them. But, like, I was sitting here at my computer, my shoes were over there, like 3 meters away. I was like, So, just Googled for some white cities and ended up photoshopping over them instead. If you're not super apt at Photoshop, you're not good at Photoshop, you don't need to do this stage. But I really wanted to visualize the overall result and get an idea for colors, etc., see what would work well together, what wouldn't work together. I'd say be careful to respect copyright. I did these for personal use, and I'm in China with very lax copyright laws, but just be mindful, don't abuse copyright too much. And so I'm an alright digital artist, but pencil and paintbrush, that kind of stuff, I suck. Like anything that requires actual skill, no. So this is where I had in my brainwave. I took all my stuff, my shoes, my paints and stuff to my school, and at my school I got a few projectors, and so I aimed a projector at the shoe and then loaded up my Photoshop designs to project the images onto the shoes. Being careful not to move the shoe, you then use a pencil to draw over all the lines, and voila, you have your design on your shoe. I knew what I wanted to do now, so I've got my layout. It's just a matter of getting your paint and just coloring between the lines. This is kind of my skill level, coloring between the lines. Again, if you're more artistically gifted than I am, your shoes are going to turn out way, way, way better than mine. But just work slowly, build up layers, and build up the colors over time. If when you first put the color on, it doesn't look very vivid, doesn't look very deep, let it dry, do another layer, keep going up, get a nice even finish. And one tip I'd say, if you're working on one shoe, make sure one side of the shoe is dry before you start painting the other. I messed up on one shoe and I painted the one side of the shoe, and then I turned around and started painting the other side of the shoe and didn't realize I was smudging the other side of the shoe as I was painting it. So luckily you can paint over any mistakes and repaint anything, but the thicker the paint's going to get, the more likely it's to crack later. So avoid those mistakes if you can. One thing that brought down the overall quality, the overall result of my shoes overall, was a deadline, I think. I had a big race at the end of September. Some UCI Pro Continental teams came to my Chinese city here in Weinan. I signed up for that race. More on that in another video. I'll put up a race report for that one. But I was painting these shoes the night before the race, trying to get them finished. I knew I wasn't going to be the fastest in the race, so I thought I'd try to be the most stylish in the race. And so that deadline, there were definitely some corners cut. There were some sides that I didn't fully finish painting, but I wanted to get it finished, so I got the glossy finish and started putting that on. So yeah, when your painting's finished, it's time for the finisher. They have different kinds of finisher, glossy stuff, matte stuff, but basically you paint it on as you do the paint. It goes on looking super milky, but it dries clear. I went for the glossy stuff. I think for cycling shoes, you want to put on a few extra layers, especially at the front of the shoes, like the toe area. The front of your toes, when you clip in, we all use our toes to spin the pedal over so you can clip in. And I think over time you're going to start wearing through the clear coat and wearing through the paint. So put some extra layers up there on the toes. And so the stupidest thing for me that I knew was totally stupid was that I was going to be using shoes that I'd never ridden in before in the biggest race of the year for me. And I tried to match the cleat position as best as I could from my old shoes to my new shoes, but it's always a bit of a guessing game. And yeah, I knew it was stupid, the night before the race, thinking of changing my shoes for the race, but I liked my shoes. They were looking good. I wanted to show them off. And so I got the shoes finished, I put them on, I went for a short 5-minute ride downstairs around the apartment complex, and the shoes felt good, so I thought, yeah, I'll wear these tomorrow, why not? Overall, I'm pretty pleased how they turned out. I love the right shoe, especially with the Liechtenstein woman. on the one side and then the lollipop on the other side. I think that's kind of cool. If I was to do anything different, maybe I'd use a permanent black marker for the outlines rather than the black paint. I think having a uniform thickness to the black lines would make them look a lot better. If you can do that with a paintbrush, then do it. But for me, the 3D surface of the shoe means it's really hard to keep a consistent pressure on the paintbrush. So you end up with these black lines that get thicker and thinner and thicker and thinner. I think it makes the shoe look hand painted. It makes it look a bit cheap and tatty. So yeah, try to keep uniform thickness on your black lines. Also, the design of the left shoe, I'm more about it. Like, maybe I'll acetone that shoe and start again. But for the time scale I had, I think the shoes were alright. Like, my first effort, I'll see what I can do next time. They got quite a lot of attention at the race. People were asking where to buy them, and when I told them they were DIY, like, some people were guessing the base shoe was a specialized S-Work 6. I can kind of see the resemblance, like the one has 2 buckles, 2 boas, mine has 1 boa, but yeah, you can kind of see it. And the white paint gets scuffed by bike tires pretty easily. If you're like me, you ride a smaller frame where your shoe overlaps the front tire of your bike. Yeah, the tire will scuff that straight off. It doesn't come straight off, but you'll get a nasty black, brownish, grayish mark on the front of your shoe. And luckily, the front of mine is just pure white. There's no pattern, so you can just rub off any of the scuff and then repaint the toes a bit white. I've not tried the shoes in the rain yet. I'm not sure I want to. Like, Angelus claim that their paints are waterproof, but I think I've got about 16 man-hours of work in these shoes, including like the researching, the photoshopping, the preparing, the painting, and I don't want to waste all that time if it turns out they're not so waterproof. So for now, these shoes are my posing shoes. The fit isn't perfect enough for long rides, and the durability isn't really up there. But for turning heads in a group ride or getting more photos in a race, which makes our team sponsors happy, they're great for that. But I'd love to know what you guys think of them. Like, what are your ideas for customizing shoes? My old shoes were also a Chinese brand called Tiebao, and they've got like 8,000 kilometers on them now. They were super, super cheap, and I'm yet to find anything that fits better. They fit me so good. So I think I'll have a go at restoring those shoes later. I'll make a video of that. Like, I'll make it more of a full how-to video. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video when it comes out. If you learned anything from this video, or if you're inspired to do your own shoes, hit me up with a like below. And if you've got any questions, ask in the comments and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. As always, ride safe and have fun. I'll see you next time in the next video. China Cycling out.